How to defeat anxiety. Motivational advice for tough days. Ladies and gentlemen, life will test you in ways you never imagined. There will be days when you feel like the walls are closing in, when your breath feels heavy in your chest, when the voices in your head whisper every doubt and fear you ever tried to bury. Anxiety is a silent thief. It creeps in when no one's watching. It robs you of your peace, your courage, your sleep, your focus, and if you let it, it can steal your dreams right out from under you. But I want you to understand something powerful today. Anxiety might knock on your door, but you don't have to invite it in for dinner. You don't have to roll out the red carpet for fear. You don't have to sit and sip tea with worry and hopelessness. You have more power inside you than the fear that tries to break you. You are bigger than the thing that makes you feel small. There was a time in my life when I didn't think I'd make it through the storm. I would lay awake at night replaying mistakes, worrying about bills, worrying about my future, worrying about the people I loved and the ones I'd lost. The mind is a battlefield, and for many of us, the war is fought alone, in silence, behind smiles and polite nods. But the truth is, you don't have to suffer in silence. You don't have to pretend to be okay when you're breaking inside. One of the first steps in defeating anxiety is acknowledging that you are not your thoughts. Just because a thought enters your mind doesn't mean it's true. Just because fear shows up doesn't mean you have to give it a seat at the table. Thoughts are visitors. Some you entertain, and some you show the door. On tough days, when the weight on your chest feels heavier than the dreams in your heart, you have to talk to yourself louder than your fears whisper to you. You have to look at the mirror and remind yourself who you are. You have survived days you thought would break you. You have survived storms you thought would drown you. You have carried burdens that would have crushed a weaker person. But here you are breathing, standing, fighting for another day. That alone means you are stronger than your anxiety wants you to believe. You see, anxiety feeds on your silence. It grows when you keep your struggles hidden. It thrives when you try to outrun it instead of facing it head on. Sometimes you've got to stop running and stand still. Feel the fear, acknowledge it, then tell it. You will not win today, You've got to find ways to starve your anxiety. Feed your faith instead. Feed your mind with good thoughts. Feed your spirit with good people. Feed your days with actions that move you closer to the life you want, not the life your fear tries to trap you in. When anxiety says you can't, you need to whisper back, watch me. When anxiety says you're alone, you need to remind yourself of the battles you've fought and the people who love you. When anxiety says you're not enough, you stand tall and tell it about every mountain you've climbed to get here. Don't let your mind bully your body into believing it can't cope. You are not broken. You are not defeated. You are a work in progress, and progress is power. People will tell you, just calm down, just breathe. And maybe they don't understand that sometimes it's not that simple. Anxiety isn't just a switch you can flick off, but you can learn to manage it. You can learn to stand guard at the door of your mind. You can learn to protect your peace like a warrior protects the gates of a fortress. You can learn to interrupt those spiraling thoughts and replace them with truth. You can train your mind to search for hope in the middle of chaos. You've got to develop rituals for the hard days. Maybe for you it's getting up and moving your body even when you don't want to. Maybe it's talking to a friend who reminds you of your strength. Maybe it's sitting alone in a quiet room and praying or meditating or just breathing. Maybe it's writing down every lie your anxiety tells you and then crossing it out with bold letters, asterisk not true, asterisk you've got to become your own biggest supporter. You've got to fight for yourself when your mind tries to convince you to give up. One of the things that keeps anxiety alive is the belief that you can't handle what's coming. But you've handled everything so far, haven't you? Think about it, every heartbreak, every loss, every sleepless night, every tough conversation, every setback. You handled it. Maybe you didn't do it perfectly, but perfection isn't the goal. Survival is, learning is, growth is, and the fact that you're here right now listening to these words means you've got more fight in you than fear. Sometimes we think courage is the absence of fear, but it's not. Courage is feeling the fear and moving forward anyway. Courage is getting up on days when staying in bed feels easier. Courage is facing the thing that scares you and saying, asterisk, you will not define me. Asterisk, you've got to be relentless about protecting your peace. You've got to remind yourself that no feeling is final. No storm lasts forever. No dark night doesn't end with a sunrise. When your mind starts racing, when your chest gets tight, when your thoughts spiral out of control, pause. Breathe. Put your hand over your heart and feel it beating. That's purpose. That's proof you're still here for a reason. Slow down. Remind yourself that the worst things rarely happen the way we imagine them. The mind loves to create monsters out of shadows. But when you turn on the light, you realize it's just a chair, just a coat hanging on the door, just your own imagination trying to protect you from danger that isn't real. You are not weak for feeling anxious. You are human. You are not broken for struggling. You are alive. You are allowed to ask for help. You are allowed to say, asterisk, I can't do this alone. Asterisk, you are allowed to rest. You are allowed to say no to things and people that drain you. You are allowed to choose yourself first. There is no medal for burning yourself out trying to be everything for everyone while you crumble inside. You can't pour from an empty cup. If you want to defeat anxiety, you've got to stand up and fight for your peace every single day. Some days that fight looks like taking a walk outside and feeling the sun on your face. Some days it looks like saying no to another commitment so you can stay home and breathe. Some days it looks like therapy or prayer or deep conversations with people who remind you that you matter. Some days it looks like sitting with your fear, looking it in the eye and saying, asterisk, I see you. I hear you. But you don't control me. Asterisk, tough days will come. That's part of life. There's no escaping that. But you don't have to face them empty-handed. You've got weapons inside you, faith, hope, resilience, memories of victories you thought you'd never win. Bring those to the battle. Bring your truth to silence the lies. Bring your courage to drown out your fear. Bring your gratitude to remind you that even in the middle of struggle, there is always something worth holding on to. You can defeat anxiety, not because you'll never feel afraid again, but because you'll learn that fear doesn't get to make the final decision. You do. You get to stand up. You get to breathe deep. You get to take the next step, even if your hands are shaking and your heart is pounding. You get to live. You get to dream. You get to hope. And that, my friends, is how you take your power back. Anxiety is something that many people carry like an invisible backpack strapped tight to their shoulders, weighing them down every step they take. It sneaks into moments that should feel safe and calm, and fills them with unease and restless thoughts that spin in circles until you feel dizzy from trying to chase them away. The first step toward defeating this relentless feeling is not to deny that it exists or pretend it doesn't affect you, but to acknowledge that it's real, that it visits you, that it knocks on your Or sometimes in the middle of the night when you're lying awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if you'll ever feel normal again. Acknowledge it. See it for what it is, a feeling, a reaction, a pattern of thoughts, not your whole identity. Too many people walk around thinking their anxiety defines them, that it is written into their DNA like a birthmark that can't be erased. But anxiety is not who you are. It is something you experience, something that can be managed, something that can be lessened over time if you refuse to give it the keys to your mind. When you start to recognize the moments when anxiety is creeping up on you, you give yourself the power to do something about it. If you pretend it's not there, it grows stronger in the shadows. It's like a mold that spreads in the dark and shrinks under sunlight. So shine a light on it. Say it out loud if you need to. Asterisk, I feel anxious right now. Asterisk, there is a strange power in putting your feelings into words because once they have a name, they lose the power to grow unchecked. You claim control when you acknowledge your own truth. Anxiety might make your heart race, your palms sweat, your breath quicken, but you can meet it head on and tell it you see it and you are not afraid to face it. Most people spend so much energy trying to fight the feeling that they exhaust themselves before they ever get to the root of what's causing it. They distract themselves, numb themselves, hide from it, deny it. But the first lesson is this: what you resist persists. What you accept you can handle, so stand still. Feel the tightness in your chest. Feel the racing thoughts. Don't push them away. Observe them like clouds passing by. Thoughts are just that, thoughts. Feelings are just feelings. They are not permanent. They are not facts carved in stone. They are visitors, and you are the gatekeeper who decides who stays and who must leave. Once you acknowledge that you're anxious, you get to decide what happens next. Do you feed the beast or starve it? Do you pour gasoline on the fire with more worried thoughts, or do you pour water on it with calm truth? This is the power you have that anxiety doesn't want you to remember. Anxiety wants you to forget that you are the one steering the ship. It wants you to believe that the storm is bigger than the captain, but that's not true. The storm might rage, but you've got hands on the wheel and you get to steer through it. You can talk back to your anxiety. You can stand up and say, asterisk, thank you for showing up, but you don't get to control my day. Asterisk, you can remind yourself that you have felt this before and survived. Every time anxiety told you that you couldn't handle something, you did. Maybe you didn't do it perfectly. Maybe you stumbled through. Maybe you cried or broke down or needed help, but you did it. That means you can do it again. A big part of acknowledging your anxiety is learning to separate it from your reality. Just because your mind says asterisk something terrible is going to happen, asterisk doesn't mean something terrible is actually going to happen. Just because your thoughts are loud doesn't mean they're telling the truth. The mind is a storyteller, and sometimes it tells horror stories when you need a bedtime story. You can rewrite the script. You can interrupt the pattern. You can say, asterisk, is this thought true? Asterisk, and if it's not, you don't have to keep listening to it like it's gospel. There's another part of this that a lot of people don't talk about. Acknowledging your anxiety means not shaming yourself for feeling it. You are not weak for being anxious. You are not failing at life because your mind spins sometimes. You are human. You have a brain that is wired to protect you from threats, and sometimes that wiring goes into overdrive, seeing threats where there are none. You are not broken because you feel afraid. You are alive, sensitive, aware, and maybe your mind is just trying to keep you safe in the only way it knows how. Thank it for doing its job, but remind it that you're in charge. When you acknowledge anxiety without judgment, you create space to do something about it. Maybe that means pausing and taking 10 deep breaths, feeling the air move in and out of your body like waves on a shore. Maybe it means standing up and moving your body, shaking out the tension in your shoulders and neck. Maybe it means writing it all down on paper, so the fears aren't swirling in your head, but sitting in black and white where you can see them for what they are, words, not destiny. It's important to talk to someone you trust, too. Anxiety loves to grow in silence, but it shrinks in conversation. Sometimes saying asterisk, I feel anxious today, asterisk, to a friend, is like cracking open a window in a stuffy room. Fresh air flows in. You realize you're not alone. You realize you're not the only one fighting invisible battles. You realize you don't have to hide behind asterisk, I'm fine asterisk, when you're not fine at all. Vulnerability is a weapon against anxiety's hold. When you open up, you weaken its grip. You can also take small actions to ground yourself when anxiety tries to spin you into the future or drag you back into the past. Touch something solid, a table, a chair, the ground beneath your feet. Remind yourself, asterisk, I am here now. Asterisk, the mind loves to imagine all the asterisk, what ifs asterisk, but your power lies in the asterisk, what is asterisk. Right now, you are safe. Right now, you are breathing. Right now, you are okay enough to take the next breath, the next step. That is enough. Another piece of acknowledging anxiety is being honest about what triggers it. Pay attention to what sets it off. Maybe it's certain people, certain places, certain situations. Knowing your triggers doesn't mean avoiding life forever, but it gives you clues about what needs healing, what needs boundaries, what needs your care and attention. Knowledge is power. When you know what stirs up your fear, you can prepare for it, plan for it, or sometimes even remove it from your life altogether. Acknowledge your anxiety, but don't stop there. When you see it, name it, feel it, you can start to separate yourself from it. You can talk to it like a child who's afraid of the dark. Asterisk, I see you, I hear you, I know you're scared. But I've got this. Asterisk, treat yourself with the same kindness you'd give a friend who came to you shaking with fear. You wouldn't shame them, call them weak, tell them to snap out of it. You'd hold them, listen to them, remind them they're not alone. Do that for yourself. The first victory over anxiety is not banishing it forever. It's proving to yourself that you can feel it without letting it paralyze you. It's showing up for your life anyway. It's breathing through the panic. It's taking the phone call, sending the email, leaving the house, facing the thing your mind tells you is too big. And every time you do, you teach your brain a new lesson. Asterisk, I can handle this. I am capable. I am bigger than my fear. Asterisk, when you wake up in the morning, before your feet even hit the floor, your mind might already be buzzing with worries, doubts, and fears waiting in line to whisper in your ear. It doesn't take much for anxiety to find a crack in your armor. One small thought can grow into an entire chain reaction of worst-case scenarios. That's why you've got to learn how to speak louder to yourself than your fears whisper to you. It sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest skills to master, because for years you might have let those whispers run your day without challenge. You might have believed every single lie your mind made up. You might have let those quiet voices of fear and doubt dictate how you see yourself, what you think you deserve, and what you dare to go after. But there comes a time when you've got to decide that you won't be an echo chamber for your anxiety anymore. You've got to drown it out with a voice that's stronger, clearer, and rooted in the truth of who you really are and what you're capable of surviving, the world will give you enough reasons to doubt yourself. People will line up to remind you of your flaws, your mistakes, your shortcomings, the times you didn't get it right, the times you fell short of their expectations. And when you're alone with your thoughts, those reminders can sound even louder because they bounce around inside your head like marbles in a glass jar. But here's the thing, you can't control every thought that pops into your mind, but you can choose which ones get to stay and which ones you evict. The voice you use to speak to yourself every single day has to be stronger than the voice of your fear if you want to keep moving forward when your knees feel weak and your heart feels like it's trapped in a vice grip. Most people don't realize they're narrating their own story every minute of the day. They wake up and tell themselves they're tired, they're unprepared, they're not good enough. They walk through their day repeating silent statements that keep them small and stuck. That inner voice becomes the architect of their reality. But when you flip the script, when you stand up and decide to speak life over yourself instead of doubt, you start to build a reality that isn't ruled by fear, but by courage and hope. It's not magic, it's discipline. It's catching the whispers that say, asterisk, what if I fail? Asterisk, and answering back, asterisk, what if I fly? Asterisk, it's hearing asterisk, you can't do this asterisk, and replying asterisk, watch me. Asterisk, it's training your tongue to speak faith even when your mind is busy counting every possible way you could lose. You have to practice talking to yourself the way you would talk to someone you love who's terrified. If your best friend came to you trembling with worry, you wouldn't pile on more fear. You wouldn't say, asterisk, you're right, you're not good enough, you're definitely going to mess this up. Asterisk, no, you'd remind them of who they are, what they've overcome, why they're stronger than they feel right now. So why can't you do that for yourself? Why can't you become the friend you've always needed? Why can't you look yourself in the eye, literally in the mirror, and say, asterisk, you've got this. I'm proud of you. I believe in you. Asterisk, it might feel silly at first, but your mind listens, your heart listens, your soul listens. Words carry power, and sometimes the only words standing between you and your fear are your own. You won't always feel strong, and you don't have to. This isn't about pretending you're fearless. It's about understanding that courage isn't the absence of fear, but the decision to keep moving even when fear is screaming at you to sit down. Fear whispers, asterisk, stay here where it's safe, where nothing changes, where you don't risk failing or looking foolish. Asterisk, your job is to speak louder, asterisk, no, I'm going anyway. No, I'm trying anyway. No, I'm stepping out anyway. Asterisk, because when you choose to raise your own voice above the noise, you take back your power one sentence at a time. Sometimes you'll feel anxiety pressing you down like a heavy blanket, telling you to hide from the world, to shrink into yourself, to cancel your plans, to turn your phone off and disappear into that dark corner of your mind where all the what-ifs echo the loudest. But that's when you stand up inside yourself and speak louder. That's when you say, asterisk, I refuse to hide, I refuse to disappear, I refuse to let fear win today. Asterisk, maybe you step out and your hands are still shaking. Maybe your voice cracks. Maybe your heart pounds so hard you feel it in your throat. But you do it anyway, and that's how you build strength. That's how you train your brain to trust you're stronger than the storm inside your head. Speaking louder to yourself also means catching the small everyday moments when your mind tries to sabotage you. Maybe you make a small mistake and immediately the whisper comes, asterisk, you always mess up, you're such a failure. Asterisk, right there is your chance to answer back, asterisk, no, I'm learning. I'm human, one mistake doesn't define me. Asterisk, maybe you're about to take a risk, a new job, a new relationship, a big move, and the whispers start. Asterisk, you're not ready. You'll embarrass yourself. Asterisk, that's when you push back. Asterisk, I am ready enough. I don't have to know everything to begin. I trust myself to figure it out. Asterisk, it's not about being blindly positive. It's about refusing to surrender to the lies your fear keeps repeating. This isn't something you master overnight. It's like working a muscle that's been weak for years. At first, your old habits will fight you. The whispers will get louder when they realize you're not listening like you used to. But the more you stand your ground and talk back, the more you claim the truth that you are not the sum of your anxious thoughts. You are the awareness behind those thoughts. You are the captain choosing which ones get to steer your ship. That is power. Sometimes the loudest thing you can say to yourself is simple. Asterisk, I am enough. Asterisk, say it when the world tries to convince you you're not. Say it when your mistakes tempt you to believe you're unworthy. Say it when fear claws at the back of your mind, begging you to give up before you've even started. Asterisk, I am enough right now, exactly as I am. Asterisk, some days you'll believe it fully, other days you'll say it through tears and trembling hands. Say it anyway. Your subconscious mind will hear you. Your spirit will hear you. The seeds will take root and grow stronger every time you water them with truth. And when you can't find the words for yourself, borrow them. Listen to music that lifts you up. Read books and quotes that remind you of your power. Surround yourself with people who speak life into you. Let their voices echo in your mind until you find the courage to make your own voice the loudest one in the room. Your fear might always whisper, but you get to decide how loud it gets to be, and what voice you answer back with. Protecting your peace is one of the most powerful choices you will ever make in your life, and yet it is one of the hardest to practice consistently because the world is loud and demanding and relentless. People pull at you from every direction. Responsibilities stack up like bricks on your shoulders, and somewhere in the middle of trying to be everything for everyone, you forget that you are allowed to draw a line around your own sanity and say, asterisk, this far and no further. Asterisk, anxiety often finds its strongest foothold in a life without boundaries. When you say yes to everything, when you stretch yourself too thin, when you keep pouring from an empty cup because you're afraid of disappointing people or missing out or being misunderstood, you invite chaos into your mind. Protecting your peace starts with understanding that not everyone deserves access to your mind, your time, your energy, and your spirit. Not every conversation deserves your response. Not every argument deserves your participation. Not every problem is yours to fix. A lot of anxiety is rooted in the fear of saying no. You might feel obligated to answer every text, to pick up every phone call, to show up for every event even when your body is begging you to rest. You might feel guilty for setting limits, because somewhere along the way you learned that putting yourself first is selfish. But here's the truth that will set you free. Taking care of your peace is not selfish, it's necessary. You can't give what you don't have. You can't show up fully for your family, your dreams, your work, your friends if you're running on fumes, stretched to the point of breaking, resentful because you keep saying yes when your soul is screaming no. Protecting your peace means choosing your thoughts as carefully as you choose the people you let into your home. You wouldn't fling your front door open to just anyone who knocks. You wouldn't invite a stranger who insults you and trashes your living room to move in and sleep on your couch. So, why do you let destructive thoughts squat in your mind rent-free? You have to become the gatekeeper of your own mind. When a thought shows up that doesn't serve you, the one that says you're not good enough, that you're going to fail, that you're too broken, too late, too small, you have every right to stand at the door of your mind and say, asterisk, not today. You don't get to stay here. Replace it with a better thought. Replace it with a truth that builds you up instead of tearing you down. One of the most practical ways to protect your peace is to learn the art of pausing. Not every situation requires your immediate reaction. Not every message demands an instant reply. Anxiety loves urgency. It feeds off the rush, the chaos, the feeling that everything is an emergency that only you can solve. But most things can wait. Most problems are smaller than your mind makes them out to be when you give yourself permission to step back, take a breath, and respond instead of react. You reclaim your peace when you remind yourself that you are not responsible for controlling everything and everyone. You are allowed to breathe before you speak, to think before you act, to rest before you decide. Another way to protect your peace is by curating your environment. The people you surround yourself with, the news you consume, the social media you scroll through, all of these things feed your mind daily. If you constantly fill your head with noise that stirs up fear and anger and comparison, don't be surprised when anxiety sets up shop in the corners of your spirit. Sometimes protecting your peace means muting voices that drain you. It means unfollowing accounts that make you feel like you're behind or not enough. It means limiting conversations with people who thrive on drama and negativity. It means creating space for silence so you can actually hear yourself think. You also protect your peace by creating pockets of calm in your day on purpose. It doesn't have to be hours, long meditation or a silent retreat in the mountains, though those things help too if you can do them. It can be as simple as sitting with your coffee in the morning without your phone, taking a walk and feeling the sun on your face without checking emails, listening to music that lifts you instead of drains you, reading words that fill you with hope instead of dread, taking a moment before you go to bed to breathe deeply and let your mind settle instead of scrolling yourself to sleep in a whirlpool of noise. Boundaries are not walls to keep everyone out. They are gates that you control. You decide who and what comes in and who and what stays out. You decide how much access people have to your energy. You decide when to open your door wide and when to close it and rest. Anxiety often grows in a mind that's open to every storm that wants to blow through. When you build strong gates, when you guard your time, your energy, your conversations, your thoughts, you create a sanctuary where your peace can grow. Sometimes protecting your peace looks like disappointing people. Sometimes it looks like stepping back from relationships that used to fit but no longer do. Sometimes it looks like spending time alone when the world says you should be busy proving yourself. Sometimes it looks like speaking up when staying silent would be easier but damaging. Sometimes it looks like walking away from things you thought you'd always need, because now you see they cost you your calm. Peace has a price, but so does chaos. The price of peace is boundaries, honesty, courage, and sometimes loneliness. The price of chaos is your sanity, your health, your sleep, your joy. Choose wisely. There is so much power in understanding that you don't have to engage with every thought that tries to hijack your mind. You can observe it like a passing car on the road. You don't run after every car that drives by. You watch it go and let it disappear into the distance. Some thoughts are just passing cars. You don't have to chase them, believe them, or let them crash through your peace. And when you protect your peace fiercely, you start to see your anxiety for what it is, a visitor, not a permanent resident. It might knock at the door, but you don't have to open it wide every time. You can peek through the window, nod, and turn back to your life. You get to decide what stays and what goes. You get to decide what you carry and what you set down. You get to decide that your mind is your home And not everyone or everything gets a key. Daily rituals can become anchors when life feels like a storm that won't let up. When anxiety tries to pull you under wave after wave, these rituals don't have to be complicated or dramatic to be powerful. In fact, the simpler they are, the more likely you are to stick with them when you feel like doing nothing at all. Developing daily rituals is about choosing small, deliberate actions that ground you when your thoughts are trying to spin you out of control. It's about building habits that remind you that no matter what chaos rages outside, there is a calm inside you that you can come back to again and again. A ritual can be as simple as taking 5 minutes every morning to sit in silence and listen to your breath. You'd be surprised how few people actually hear themselves breathe. When anxiety is high, your breath gets shallow, your chest tightens, and you forget that your breath is one of the only things you can control when everything else feels like it's falling apart. Sitting quietly, breathing deeply, feeling your chest rise and fall, it sounds small, but it reminds your body that you're safe. It tells your nervous system to settle down, that there is no tiger chasing you, no fire to flee from, that you can be here now without panic running your thoughts into the ground. Some people find their ritual in movement. Walking outside, no headphones, just the sound of your steps, the rustle of trees, the birds that don't care about your deadlines or unpaid bills. A walk can remind you that the world is bigger than your worries. You put one foot in front of the other, and you realize that's all you really have to do today, just the next step. No matter how big your problems feel, they always shrink a little when you're moving your body, breathing in fresh air, seeing life go on around you. For some, writing is the ritual that saves them. Putting pen to paper is like opening a valve for the pressure that builds up inside your head. When you write down what scares you, you shrink it. Words on paper look less threatening than monsters in your mind. You don't have to write a novel. Just a page in the morning, a line before bed, a list of what you're grateful for, a list of what you survived today. The page doesn't judge you, it doesn't rush you. It holds what you can't hold by yourself. Rituals can look like prayer, meditation, or just sitting quietly and reminding yourself that not every thought deserves your attention. Some people find calm in repeating affirmations, short truths that cut through the noise. Asterisk, I am safe. I am capable. I am more than my fear. Asterisk, whisper it to yourself when your heart is racing. Say it out loud when the old voices in your head start telling you you're not enough. It might feel awkward at first, talking to yourself when no one's around, but anxiety is loud and stubborn. So your truth has to be louder and more stubborn. Sometimes your ritual is in the way you start your day. Maybe you get up 10 minutes earlier, so you're not rushing out the door with your heart already pounding. Maybe you sip your coffee without checking your phone. Maybe you stand in the shower and feel the water wash yesterday's worries off your shoulders. Starting the day on purpose instead of by accident can change the whole tone of what comes next. You remind yourself, asterisk, I am in charge of my energy today. I am not powerless, asterisk, night rituals matter just as much. Anxiety loves the late hours when everything is quiet, and there's nothing to distract you from the stories your mind loves to replay. A ritual before bed can help calm the mental noise. Maybe you turn off your screens an hour earlier. Maybe you read a few pages of a book that lifts you up. Maybe you write down what's weighing on your mind and tell yourself you can pick it up tomorrow if you really need to. But tonight it's not welcome in your dreams. Light a candle, listen to calm music, pray if that's your thing. Do something that tells your mind and body, asterisk, it's safe to rest now, asterisk. What matters is not how fancy the ritual is, but that it works for you. You don't need a complicated checklist of 100 things to do every day to stay calm. That's just more pressure, and pressure is the last thing you need. What you need are gentle anchors you can hold on to when you feel like you're drifting. A warm cup of tea you sip slowly while you breathe. A reminder on your phone to pause and stretch your shoulders when you've been tense for hours. A moment to stand by a window and feel the sun on your face, to look at the sky and remember that you are small compared to the universe, and that's a comforting thing. Your rituals don't have to make sense to anyone else. Maybe they look strange from the outside, sitting alone in your car for a few extra minutes before you go inside because you need that moment of stillness. Going to the same park bench every afternoon to watch people pass by, so you remember that life is happening outside your thoughts. Carrying a small object in your pocket, a stone, a piece of jewelry, a note, something you can hold when your mind starts racing to remind you, asterisk, I am here. I am okay, asterisk. Over time, these small acts become like muscle memory for your peace. They train your nervous system to find a way back to calm more quickly. They don't erase the storms, but they give you a lifeboat to hold onto when the waves get high. They remind you that you have choices, that you have tools, that you are not at the mercy of your fear even on the days when it feels like you are. Daily rituals work because they create moments of certainty in a world full of uncertainty. They become small promises you keep to yourself, proof that you are worth taking care of. Anxiety can't stand when you show up for yourself on purpose. It wants you to stay distracted, scattered, forgetful of your own power. But every time you keep your ritual, every time you pause and breathe and check in with yourself, you remind anxiety that it doesn't get to run the whole show. You remind your spirit that you are stronger than the chaos in your mind you may have to fight to protect these rituals. The world will try to steal them with distractions and demands. People who don't understand might roll their eyes or tell you you're being dramatic or that you should just get over it. But they don't live in your head, they don't carry your battles, they don't feel the pounding in your chest at 3 a.m. when your mind is spinning stories that keep you awake. Only you know what calms that storm. Only you can choose to keep showing up for your peace every single day when life gets loud, when your thoughts get heavy, when fear tries to convince you that you have no control. You have these small rituals to come back to. They are proof that you have choices. They are proof that you can care for yourself, even when the world feels uncaring. They are proof that you can build small safe spaces inside your day where fear has no place to sit. Most people spend their lives waiting for the fear to go away before they take the first step. They wait for the perfect moment when their hands don't shake and their voice doesn't crack and their heart doesn't race every time they think about doing something that stretches them beyond what they already know. But the truth is, if you spend your life waiting for fear to disappear completely, you'll be waiting forever. The people who look fearless aren't fearless at all. They're just people who decided to move forward with fear riding shotgun instead of letting it drive. They understand a truth that anxiety doesn't want you to remember. Courage has never been about the absence of fear. Courage is about standing up and walking forward even when fear is clutching at your sleeves, whispering all the reasons you should sit down and stay small. When you realize this, a door opens. You stop waiting to feel ready. You stop waiting for the fear to be silent before you act. You stop telling yourself that bravery will feel like a lightning bolt of confidence striking you in the middle of your ordinary day. Instead, you accept that fear is part of the package. It means you care about what you're doing. It means you're alive, awake, aware that you're stepping into something bigger than your comfort zone. The trick is to invite fear to come along for the ride, but to make it clear it doesn't get to touch the wheel. There are so many people with dreams inside them. They've never spoken out loud because they're waiting for the fear to leave first. They imagine one day they'll wake up and the fear will be gone, and then they'll write the book, start the business, have the hard conversation, say I love you, stand up for themselves, walk away from what hurts, but that day doesn't come. Fear doesn't pack its bags and leave on its own. It needs proof that it can't win every single time. And that proof comes from your steps. However small they might be, think about every meaningful thing you've ever done. Somewhere in the beginning there was fear. Maybe you don't remember it now because you're on the other side of it. But go back in your mind. Your first day of school, your first job interview, the first time you stood up in front of a room and spoke when your throat felt tight, the first time you risked your heart for someone else. Fear was there, but you did it anyway. You might have stumbled through it, you might have messed up, you might have walked away thinking you should have done it better, but the point is you did it. That's courage. That's the muscle you've been building your entire life without even knowing its name. Anxiety feeds on the lie that you can't handle what's coming. It feeds on the idea that you have to feel 100% prepared before you take a step. But the truth is you will never feel completely ready for the things that really matter because they stretch you, they shape you, they call out parts of you that haven't been tested yet. You don't grow by staying in the place where everything is familiar and safe. You grow by walking into rooms where you don't have all the answers, by saying yes to things that scare you just enough to remind you that you're alive. People think courage is loud and dramatic. Standing on a stage, making grand speeches, moving mountains in front of a crowd. Sometimes it is, but more often courage is quiet, unnoticed, humble. Courage is getting out of bed on a day when your mind is telling you to hide under the covers and disappear. Courage is sending the message, making the call, showing up to the meeting, asking for help when every voice in your head is saying, don't bother, you're too much of a burden. Courage is choosing to try again when last time didn't work out the way you hoped. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is to stop seeing fear as your enemy and start seeing it as a signpost. Fear often shows you where you actually want to go. The things that scare you tend to be the things that matter. You're not afraid of the things you don't care about. You're afraid of the things that could change your life, that could change how people see you, that could stretch you into someone new. So instead of seeing fear as a stop sign, what if you saw it as a green light? What if the fear is the invitation to step forward, to see what's on the other side? You don't have to take giant leaps. You don't have to run full speed into the unknown. You just have to take the next small step. Anxiety wants you to believe that you have to figure out the whole path before you move. But life doesn't work like that. You learn as you go. You figure it out on the way. You build the bridge as you're walking across it. And each step teaches your fear that it doesn't get to make the rules. Sometimes you'll fail. Sometimes you'll trip over your own feet and fall flat in front of everyone you were trying so hard to impress. Sometimes you'll hear the "I told you so" from the people who never dared to try. But even then, you'll have learned something your fear hoped you'd never know, that failing didn't destroy you, that you're still standing, that the worst thing that could happen already happened, and here you are, breathing, alive, wiser than you were before. When you move forward with fear, you teach your mind a new story. You rewrite the old script that said "if I feel anxious, I have to stay small." Asterisk now, the new story says asterisk, I can feel anxious and still do it anyway. Asterisk, this story makes you unstoppable because it means there's no feeling you can't carry with you and keep walking. It means you don't have to wait for the perfect moment or the perfect mood or the perfect version of yourself. You work with what you have: shaky hands, pounding heart, sweaty palms, racing thoughts, and you move forward anyway. The people you look up to, the ones you think are so brave, they've just practiced this more than you. They've learned to breathe through the trembling. They've learned to stand in front of their fear and say, asterisk, I see you, but I'm not going anywhere. Asterisk, they've fallen down and gotten up so many times that falling no longer scares them the way it used to. The fear never really leaves, but the voice inside that says asterisk, I can handle this, asterisk, grows louder every single time they choose courage over comfort. And there's something beautiful that happens when you do this. You start to see yourself differently. You start to trust yourself in ways you never did before. You start to believe that maybe you are stronger than you thought, braver than you imagined, more capable than you were ever told. You realize that the feeling of fear doesn't mean you're broken or weak. It means you're stepping into something bigger than what you've done before. And that's how your life expands. When you look back years from now, it won't be the moments when you felt completely safe and comfortable that you'll remember with pride. It will be the moments when you felt terrified and showed up anyway. The moments when you had every excuse to back out, to hide, to stay small, but you didn't. You'll remember the trembling voice that still spoke, the hands that still reached, the feet that still moved forward, one shaky step at a time. You'll see that fear was never the thing holding you back. It was the belief that you had to wait for it to leave before you could live. So if you feel fear right now, good. It means you care. It means you're alive. It means something matters enough to risk feeling uncomfortable, to risk stumbling, to risk not getting it right the first time. Let that fear come with you if it must, but don't you dare hand it the keys to your future. Keep walking, keep standing, keep showing up with your knees knocking and your voice shaking if you have to. That's courage.